Live from the Hollywood Improv, it's the Nighttime Show. I'm the voice of the Nighttime Show, Mike Black. With us, as always, our head writer, Matt Walker. Today, our very special guest, star of Star Trek The Next Generation, Blank Check and Family Ties, Brian Bonsall. And now our host, a man whose body writes blank checks that his face can't cash, Stephen Kramer.
I did not expect that at all. Well done.
Nice.
Oh my God. Is it
Amazing.
Bonsall or Bonsall? Or is it Bonsall?
I said Bonsall.
I like Bonsall. That was a fun way of saying it.
I do get called bonsai quite a bit, but it's just Bonsall.
Bonsall.
Yeah.
I love it.
I say we change it.
Well, thanks for having me on, you guys.
Thanks for being here, man. This is a very weird time in our history, and we
it get very much is.
Oh my God. How have you been holding up? What have you been doing to stay keep your head together?
Well, this pandemic came at a time when I became a new father.
Whoa!
Wow.
Mazel tov! That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have he's a little over one. I have a son named Oliver, and he was born August 24th, 2019. So yeah, I've been a stay-at-home dad with him, and it's been an amazing adventure. My wife and I bought a machine shop that she runs, and so
cool.
We're kind of both doing our own thing, but reside here, and it's been awesome.
What kind of machines?
Like CNC machining.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
For like
all sorts
CNC
of
Music
cool stuff.
Factory.
Yeah.
That's what they had in the factory.
yes, that was,
I almost said CNN.
they're like computer controlled lathes, so they carve
They are.
things out of metal.
They help you pump up
Yeah.
the jam, I assume.
and they make all sorts of cool stuff, prosthetic limbs, and
It's like
Oh my God.
it's like the opposite. It's like the opposite of a 3D printer in that
okay.
you cut parts away from a device to wind up with the part you want, as opposed to building it up from scratch.
Oh, the way Leonardo da Vinci would sculpt things.
Yes, exactly. What he did in his workshop back then. Yeah.
Wow.
I worked with
Removing
him
the negative space.
When I was a mechanical engineering student, we worked with those a lot. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm
that's
familiar
super
with them.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I say
Matt,
we
can
bought
Matt
it,
have a
but
job
she
at
does
your
all the
machine?
hard work. She
At
runs
CNC
that.
Music
Oh,
Factory.
she runs
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's cool stuff, though.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I just wanted to throw a touch there. I started cooking, and I got to tell you, I'm pretty good at it.
Nice.
Yesterday,
That's not exactly what happened.
Yesterday, I was on the phone with Matt Walker here, and Matt, would you like to tell Brian what happened?
He asked me, "Is it okay to eat turkey that I bought 9 days ago?" And I asked him, "Well, is it slimy?" And he said, "No." And I'm like, "Does it smell bad?" He said, "No." So I said, "You could probably eat the turkey," but he said, "I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to make some eggs." So I was like, "Okay."
There you go.
Make some
that would
eggs.
do them, right?
So then I hear the sounds of the frying pan being brought out, and all of a sudden I hear him say, "Oh shit! Oh shit! Something's on fire! Oh shit!
Oh, no.
Everything's on fire!" And I was like, "What's burning?" "A knife! A knife is on fire!" I'm like, "A knife is made out of metal. How do you?"
A knife with a plastic handle had fallen
Oh.
into the grate where the flame comes out of, and it had set the entire knife on fire. So it was just a flaming knife, and then I put it out.
And then I asked you, like, I was
Would have
like,
been
"How?"
great if you were a Viking to have a
Yeah.
flaming knife.
Sure.
Good
then
thing
I
you were
asked-
on the phone with somebody. It could have went
Yeah.
worse.
Well, then I asked, how do you set a knife on fire? He's like, "Hold on, I'll send you a photo." And then while he's taking a photo, I hear on the phone, "Oh shit, my eggs are on the floor."
Oh my gosh.
Immediately dropped
So-
my eggs on the floor while trying to.
So
take a
that's
picture.
the level of cook that Stephen is.
I don't always wish that you had died doing something, but if you had died doing this, and
good story.
your tombstone said "killed by a flaming knife," that would have been pretty awesome.
Wow.
That is a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
I should write that down. As a,
Yeah.
As a
As a
possibility.
possibility.
Yeah. No, so Brian, have you been doing a lot of music during quarantine as well? Because that's what you've been up to lately, right?
I have, yeah. I mean, I have a few active music projects. I I've been playing in local bands and playing music for over 20 years now, and kind of the coolest thing to come out of that for me was I was doing a lot of touring with one of my favorite bands, the Ataris.
Oh yeah.
And
hell yeah.
and I was a fan of that band for 20 years, and it was just a dream come true when Chris reached out to me, the singer and songwriter, and asked me if I wanted to tour. So I did 9 tours with them, and then I got married and had this son, and it was one of the hardest decisions for me to make, to kind of pass the torch, which hopefully that door is still open, because I'd love to do some more in the future. But yeah, during quarantine and stuff, I've been the bands I have active here at home are they're kind of on hold. We meet up every once in a while, social distance, and try to keep stuff going. But I've also been just doing stuff in my own little studio and helping other musicians with little projects, doing backups here and there on their stuff, or working on some guitar parts. So I'm trying to stay active with being a new dad. I don't get that much time. He'll go down for a nap, and I'll try to do some stuff, and he'll pop up, and it's like, that's that. But
everything you do is loud, so it's the worst thing to do when he's taking a nap.
It is. It's hard for sure.
You're like, he's taking a nap. Let's play some punk rock and see how that goes. It's like,
totally. Well, luckily he listens to punk rock while he takes his nap. So there is a little bit to cover up the sounds in the other room, but no,
Very
you're totally
cool.
right. It makes it a little difficult.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so amazing, man. I mean, do you? How do you feel about like if your son were to ever want to get into the entertainment industry in any way? Like, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think I would want it to be more of a decision that he could make. And when I say that, I don't mean that I regret my upbringing or anything like that, because I started so young. I was 3, but I don't know. That sometimes the hours
3 years old is very, very young to.
Yeah, and being on a show like Family Ties, which was an amazing experience and nothing but great memories. It's still 6 days a week, and it's 8 hours a day. You're rehearsing all week, and the live audience comes Friday and stuff, and then you're starting over. But I don't know. I mean, I think I would like him to be a little older and show me that it's something that he would really want to do, or you can tell when kids love the attention like that, or if they're in school and they enjoy the theater program or something like that. But yeah, I would just like it to be a decision that he could make.
Not to dive super deep in super quickly into this, but we've talked on our show before with people who were like child stars or were really big like in the business when they were very young, and one of the craziest things that happens is suddenly you end up making more money than your parents have ever made in the history of their fucking lives. And the balance of power in the family, like the dynamic in the family, suddenly changes.
Yeah.
Do you have brothers and sisters at all?
I have a full blood sister, and that's kind of how I got my start, because she was we lived in Fremont, California, and we were taking the BART, and she was going on interviews, and I poked my head in the door and wanted to see what was going on, and I ended up getting a part that way. And then I also have step siblings, and my stepbrother Victor was in The Sandlot, and he was an actor for a long time as well, and he's kind of getting back into it now, doing some stuff, but the weird thing about that with Victor is our parent, we're stepbrothers, so we're not blood related, but we've been stepbrothers since we were 8, 9 years old, and it was our parents that didn't really have much to do with our acting that ended up getting married. So and there was more coincidences. I was telling Steven, he was on an episode of Family Ties before our parents got married, and there was weird stuff there, but but yeah, so my sister really didn't take the acting and modeling past when we were younger, but my brother Victor did.
Now,
Interesting.
what was the change like in the dynamic when you started? Was there ever a time where you kind of noticed a change in the dynamic of your family after, when you're starring in movies and you're doing TV shows like left and right? Was there anything like that, or did you kind of?
Well, with the thing with me is, since I started when I was 3 years old, it's all I really knew. So it's like it's so common to get that question, what was that like? And what did you feel like a normal kid, or quote unquote, and stuff like that? And it's like it's all I really knew. So I can't say that I noticed much of a crazy dynamic. I got lucky, I guess. I don't know if I want to say it like that, but like I hear horror stories about other child actors and their families and things like that, and I just got lucky in that regard. My mom didn't rip me off, and and she was very protective, and she didn't hire someone all the time to take care of everything. She was by my side, and she was in theater before I got my parts. She did Jesus Christ Superstar and Grease and theater stuff, but she kind of gave that up when I got Family Ties. I mean, our lives completely changed.
Yeah.
So
that must have been
in an instant.
That's
that phone call.
Amazing. Oh my God. Yeah, of course.
And you're coming into a show like that at the height of its popularity, basically. Like, it had been on for a long time, and it was one of the top-rated shows on TV, and you come in, and there's like already sort of a dynamic on the set. But you're going in there as a 3-year-old. I think you said 3 or 4 when you started on Family Ties?
I think I got the part when I was 3.5, and then I started when I was 4. So
wow.
I did 81 episodes.
Holy crap.
From 4 to 7 years old. I think there's some speculation in that. I think somewhere on Wikipedia it says 78 episodes. So sometimes I get confused, but somewhere between 78 and 81 episodes. And
it's still a lot. Yeah. So that's a good 4 years of television you did there on that show. So I mean, did you become did they become sort of like a second family to you? Like, say, Michael Gross, they become like your second dad almost, or?
They did. I mean, it was amazing. I just did a reunion with them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I just saw they did one. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was so cool to connect with them. It had been so long, and that was one thing that we talked about. Like, Family Ties didn't have that behind the scenes drama that you hear with a lot of shows and stuff like that. Everybody was actually really close. I mean, Michael Fox taught me how to dive into a pool. At his house, he'd pick me up in his Ferrari. I mean, and that it was he was like a brother.
Wow.
It was so when all that ended, we kind of went separate ways. At least I did, because I was so young. So I wasn't really just picking up the phone to call them all the time, but my mom definitely kept in contact with a lot more people than I did. So reconnecting with them was, a couple weeks ago, was just amazing. We had done one other with Joy Behar a few years ago, and it was probably like 5 years ago actually. But we all, I had one earpiece and I couldn't see them, and everybody's talking over each other, and it wasn't the greatest experience of reconnecting.
Yeah. Now, do you see these people, like, do you get called out to like the convention circuit and stuff? I imagine with the Star Trek connection, there's probably some desire from people to hire you to come out and sign autographs, and you might run into them in these places, or?
I've done a few in the past couple of years. I've done some horror conventions, Chiller Theater, and I've done the Hollywood Show a couple times, and I did a Comic-Con. And it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. So some of the Star Trek fans will come up, and have say a Star Trek leather jacket, and it'll have every cast signature on it. And since I don't do a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Oh
You're a
my
rare
gosh,
find.
you're the last signature," and I'm like, "Wow, this is awesome!" Like, and
Yeah.
so it's fun. I might do some more of those in the future.
You were like Baby Yoda before it was cool.
Yeah.
Before
I
all the
was
cool
telling
kids started
Steven,
doing it.
Now,
I talked to Michael Dorn on the phone a couple of years ago, and it was really cool to reconnect with him. It was just like the Family Ties reunion. Like, it had been so long,
Yeah.
and it was really cool to hear his voice.
we've had both your TV dads on our podcast.
That's sweet.
Well, the one who was a good father on TV and the one who was a bad father on TV in Worf.
When Michael Gross was on the show, he told a story about that he would sometimes when the audience was there and they were between takes or between scenes, him and Justine would play tricks on the
pretend to be in a relationship.
yeah, he'd pretend that they were dating, and he would he'd be like, I want you to sit on Daddy's lap, and he would like say like creepy
Oh, my
stuff.
gosh.
She'd be like, "Oh, Daddy," and the audience would be like, "No!" Like, be totally freaked out.
When we just did that reunion, it did bring back, because a lot of it's so blurry, but I do remember a little bit, and I remember everybody on that set having so much fun and doing and joking around like that, and showing up with water guns and soaking everybody and just like doing wild and crazy stuff, keeping people on their toes. And I think that's the fun that came along with it, because other sets like Star Wars, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble now, Star Trek, other sets like that, it's a lot of method acting. People are in their character and they don't want to,
What is a
they
different
don't want to break
feel,
character.
too?
There's not jokes going on,
Hey, before we continue doing the show, we got to talk about the equipment that we're using to make the show, make an epic show that is. It sounds like everyone is right here, like we're all sitting together, but we're not.
We've got a fantastic multi-track recorder from Zoom. If you need multi-track recordings, that's the only company you should even be looking at. Basically, we had issues when we had to switch to doing things during a pandemic, and we went from doing a show with people in person to people over the phone, and Zoom just made it a piece of cake.
Yeah, you bet. ZoomCorp.com is the website, and this has made it so that we could interview people in Nigeria,
New Zealand,
Guatemala, Austria, the Czech Republic. When we were
Are
doing
you just
all
naming
those
countries now?
Yeah, well, no. When we were doing all the interviews with the cast of 90 Day Fiance, we were talking to people, in the Ukraine. We were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And then just the other day when we had John Rhys Davies on the show
From New Zealand.
he was in New Zealand the whole time.
Sounded
It sounds
like he was
he was
here.
sitting in the room with us.
Yeah.
It truly is the mark of excellence for podcasting. Zoom Live Track L8 8-track mixer recorder, the board for creators, podcasting, music, and beyond.
Yeah, it is a badass system, and we're very lucky to be working with Zoom. Go check out ZoomCorp.com. That's ZoomCorp.com. Zoom, you have to say it 3 times. That's what people do in ads, right? Zoom,
What is it, Stephen?
ZoomCorp.com. It's ZoomCorp.com. We're talking about ZoomCorp.com. All right, let's get back to the show. Well, I got to talk about one of the craziest casts of anything I've ever heard of. Let's see. We got Woody Harrelson. We got Debbie Harry, Terry Garr, Art Garfunkel, Shelley Duvall, Bobby Brown,
wow, yeah.
Cyndi Lauper, Harry Anderson, and of course you, Brian Bonsall, in Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme. I mean, what the fuck? What was happening? What is this?
It's mind-boggling. I forget that I did that a lot, and then there's somebody will bring it up like now, but somebody did bring it up recently, and I'm like, I totally forgot that I saw that, and then I'm trying to find it on YouTube or somewhere to show my wife, because it was quite strange.
Wow.
What did you play on that?
I making me look bad here.
I'll tell you.
I don't know.
He played the role of Michael. He played the role of Michael.
Michael,
Jesus. And Bobby Brown was one of the 3 blind mice. Okay. Shelley Duvall was Little Bo Peep.
That's his prerogative.
I haven't found it or rewatched it in many years, so now I really want to. I need to find it.
I mean that it's too crazy to not be. Someone needs to put pieces of this on the internet. And I mean, Howie Mandel is Humpty Dumpty, and fucking Gary Shandling is in it.
Totally, there's so many names in it.
Wow, that cast is loaded.
Massive thing. You know, I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. I mean,
it's
ZZ
one of
Top's
those,
in
like,
it. It's fucking bananas.
There's little things like I did throughout my career like that were just kind of in the middle of the main stuff that I forget about. Like I did a Super Mario Brothers special, and it was strange as well. And like and sometimes
was that with the Super Mario with Captain Lou Albano?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's it.
What was he like?
Man, it's like another lifetime.
It's crazy.
I don't remember.
That's a long
I don't
time
remember
ago.
like
Specifics like that. Yeah.
Specifics, yeah.
Yeah, that's a.
The man wore rubber bands on his face, Mike.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
what do you think he was?
Come on.
I think you know the answer to that
I
question.
think he was a lot of fun. I just
think
want to be sure.
I love it. It's amazing. One of the credits that pops up for you on the IMDb's is the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. Is that right? Or did you do?
It is right, but Johnny Carson was sick, so it was one of and so Jay Leno took over and did that episode.
Whoa!
Oh, so it was a Leno episode of the.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really fucking cool.
Yeah,
that must have been pretty neat. And then
it was really cool. And Jay was such a good guy, and I don't like remember exactly the time I was up there on the stage, but I remember talking with him before and after, and the days leading up, and he was a super nice guy.
Well, there's one other one I gotta bring up. This another credit where I'm like, what? Is Hollywood Squares? Did you do an episode of Hollywood Squares at some point?
I can't remember if I did or not.
Oh my god! The fucking history is a very strange and bizarre thing in television. Because it's like you do something and then someone goes, "Well, how many?" Like I did a game show called Figure It Out, and I thought I did one episode, and it turns out I did 4, but I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
I want to say that I did do an episode of that. I remember because I remember doing something like that, and I know what Hollywood Squares is, but I can't put my finger on it.
It's okay.
Wait a minute, did I work
some
with Al?
weird stuff like that. I did an episode of Totally Hidden Video, which was like Candid Camera.
I remember that show.
Yeah.
And they what they did was it was crazy, and I actually fell and broke my arm. They put a harness on me, and they hired somebody to sell balloons at Griffith Park, where the trains are or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they were playing the joke on this guy, and I give him $100 and buy the balloons, and they pull me into a tree and freak these people out. And I said, "Help, Mr. Too Early." Mm-hmm. And that the guy they hired, who didn't know it was a joke, grabbed my foot and pulled, and I fell 12 feet.
Oh wow!
Oh my god!
Broke my arm.
So by him trying to help you is what broke your arm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so when I did a couple other harness scenes in other movies, falling down a well, and it was scary after that, but I still did them.
Well,
so, yeah.
As the resident Trekkie on the show, I got to ask you a couple questions about Star Trek. And so you come into the show, and you were the second or third actor to play Alexander, if I remember correctly. Because there was somebody who played him as a baby.
Second, I believe. Yeah. John Paul Stewart, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Played the part before me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you came in, and you were you're the one that we tend to think of as being Alexander, as fans of the show, because you were in, the bulk of them where things were happening, and you got to do a lot of fun episodes where you're in a mud bath with.
I did. Yeah.
With Majel Roddenberry, and you get Michael Dorn in there at the end for comedic effect, and you're doing the Old West episode where there's
that was
Fistful of
favorite.
Datas. That's a great one.
Yeah.
So what was the makeup process on that like? Because you had the forehead ridges and the whole thing, and I imagine did that take a couple hours to do, or how was that process like?
It was usually about 2 hours exactly. And so, yeah, for a kid who's hyperactive,
Yeah.
like I was, maybe still am, to sit, still for that was hard. But the makeup department was just so amazing and always really fun.
So
To
you're like,
work with.
are you
And
in there at the same time as like Brent or Michael or people like that at the same time and all that? Yeah.
yeah, I'd be in there with whoever was, filming that scene or scenes, coinciding in other parts of the ship.
Wow.
Now, what were the sets like? Like how many? Because obviously, there's like the bridge, and then there's like a couple quarters they might have set up that they would deck, and like how moving around was
By
that?
the way, Brian, Matt Walker is the biggest fucking nerd about Star Trek
yes.
in the history
No, that's
of
super cool.
mankind.
And sometimes I get a little intimidated because I don't know as much about Star Trek as, I probably should. And so sometimes, when I've done these conventions, people come up and ask these, and I'm like, they'll say things in Klingon and stuff, and I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy.
Is
I don't
it
know.
like have you ever seen the Saturday Night Live sketch with William Shatner where they're at a Trek convention? And then
Yes.
I think it's like Dana Carvey's like, in episode 302, whatever, and he's like, have you ever even kissed a girl? That was his response. I meant some of the
that's
Michael.
funny.
But,
No, but the sets were really cool. That it was like, I think it was like, and I've said this before, but I think it was kind of like every kid's dream to put on makeup like that and run around sets like that.
yeah.
It was so much fun, and everybody standing around, in their character, method acting, and I'm, pew pew, running around, pushing buttons that don't work, and yeah, no, it was really cool to spend time on those sets, and even the studios nearby to go in the warehouses full of all the special effects and mask making and all that stuff. It was just it was so cool. I have the greatest memories of that.
You filmed that at Paramount?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great place. Yeah. So so you said Fistful of Datas, that's probably your favorite of the episodes you did.
Yeah, I had so much fun filming that one, and I had it was filmed out out on a ranch. I don't know if they call it the Disney Ranch or Golden Oak or I don't know what, but I had filmed some other stuff out on that ranch, and it was that western town and everything was built up, and it was just so much fun to run around and play in that environment.
Hey, Matt, before we continue doing the show, we got to talk about what we're talking into.
These Sennheiser microphones are fantastic.
Yeah, they are literally top of the line. The best company in the world when it comes to microphones, headphones, audio equipment like this. I mean, it's just so damn good.
If you want to sound good talking into something, get yourself some Sennheiser microphones.
Yeah, it makes you sound epic. Mike Black, say something epic.
Space. The final frontier.
Bum, bum, bum,
These are the voyages.
bum,
If I say any more, lawyers will get involved. We have to.
Exactly.
By the
But
way,
I said it clearly, and you could
did.
hear it clearly.
God, I can hear it. It sounds perfect. Hey, go check out Sennheiser. If you are looking for audio equipment, you're looking for a great microphone, this is the one to use. Matt, what's this one called that we're using?
this is the MD42.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect.
Find them at Sennheiser.com.
You bet. All right, let's get back to the show.
And now, of course, then shortly after Star Trek, you did a landmark movie, which has sort of popped up a lot in pop culture.
It's become.
It has, yeah.
God, it just I see it pop up constantly, and whether it's because of there's just a lot of reasons why that's popped up, and I think it's because of it being a Disney thing, but then also because of
and we should mention the
Kiss,
title. It's
yes.
Blank Check
Yeah.
we're talking about.
Blank Check.
Yeah.
We're talking about Blank Check.
No, it's popped up a lot for that lately, and honestly, like I've been getting a lot of messages from journalists in the UK and all over that want to interview me about that kiss, and I just turn them down because I just feel like it'll back me into a corner. I never felt uncomfortable of any sort filming that movie. I had a lot of fun. Everybody was great to work with, and it was super cool. And
it's a fun movie, and look, times change. So just
times
because
change.
something
and
is
that's-
like completely would never happen today doesn't mean it was in the same realm in 1994.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
also
So-
in
No,
1994.
it's very true.
Yeah, like also 1994, Duff was the what's it called? She was
VJ.
The VJ. So like
Mm-hmm.
every guy in America was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
she is
Like
so
Charlie Red girl,
Oh,
yeah.
she's so beautiful, and she was so cool, and kind of like a girl like that you'd want to hang out with." And so it was brilliant casting for them to
Yeah.
have her, as like if you're suddenly a millionaire, like who would you want to spend time and hang out with?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Oh, Karen was great,
Come on.
and so much made work doing that movie so much fun for me, and we had a lot of fun.
I'm sure. How did you end up getting cast in that? How did that go down?
I can't quite remember the interviews too well for that one. I should, I was 10 or 11. I had done, I had from 8 years old to 12 or 13 was such a busy time in my life. When I was 8, I did, the horror movie Mikey, that B-rated movie that became, a cult classic.
Yeah,
People are really liking it, and I did that. Fatherhood with Patrick Swayze, directly following it, and then Blank Check directly following that, and the interviews and if I even had one for Blank Check, I might have had some momentum right there, and maybe it was just, we want you for this. I don't quite remember, but
yeah, because by that point,
yeah.
you were a known commodity in the circles. Like, they're like, we need a kid, we need somebody who we know can do the job, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, they're sort of limited in how many people they'd even consider. It's not, they're not just going to just call some random kid in for an audition for a feature. Usually, that's usually you get a small part on a TV show.
Yeah, no, that was definitely the height of what was going on for me, because things were being thrown at me left and right there, and it was a little.
Was it like an intimidating thing? Did it feel kind of like it was like too much at one time? Like,
well, I think a little bit. There's definitely those feelings there, because I'm 11, turning 12. I'm starting to be a little bit more in tune with reality of life, and the the effects of decision making, and when you're being offered different stuff, and I'm working through it with my mom, like what should we do, and what should we turn down, and what's going to be the best to, I could say it was a little intimidating.
I'm sure. Did you have to deal with any of the I know this is like kind of a weird question to ask, but it's like,
no worries.
When I know from like reading about the early 90s in Hollywood. This is the time before when we just had what's his name on the show, Tommy Lee on the show, and he was like, yeah, basically nothing you couldn't get away.
People didn't have cameras everywhere,
yeah, no.
so you could do more.
No
stuff.
one had cell phones. No one anything, right? So also young people in Hollywood in the early '90s were being offered stuff left and right that should
sure.
not
Every
be
substance
offered
under
to them. Did you deal with any of that kind of stuff of like people kind of being like trying to
were
get
people
you
like
to
trying to
smoke
glom
pot or-
onto you? And
Yeah, like was there any of that kind of stuff?
I mean, there was. The thing is like, being that young, there is definitely stuff that was filtered before it got to me.
Mhm.
Before. So I can't really say that I was in tune with a lot of that, and that kind of goes along with my mom being protective and making sure, and having a role in what I was going to do and what I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I can't really say that I could pinpoint an exact situation like that.
Well, that's good.
You
didn't get swept up in the whole like party scene or whatever of Hollywood, because that's a
I
danger.
didn't. I didn't. I unfortunately took that role upon myself later after I kind of finished acting, and had a wild adventure for some years. But life is great now.
Yeah. Now was
that's all behind me.
Oh no,
that's great.
That's a great thing.
Yeah. Now was Blank Check sort of like the final thing you'd done, and you're just like, I've done everything I need to do, and I can move on now, or like?
Well,
I
did Blank Check, and then I did a movie with Natalie Cole after that, called Lily in Winter, and we filmed that on the same ranch as like the Fistful of Data episode and stuff like that. And then after that, my family, my mom and my sister and my stepdad and we moved to Boulder, Colorado, from LA. And at that point, my head was at going to normal school and not being in and out of schools and not allowed back because schools don't want you leaving every 2 months. And just wanted us. We moved around a lot, mostly just all over California growing up. But you go through a lot of groups of friends and stayed in contact with very minimal of them. But like at that point, I wanted to go to school, and I was finding punk rock music, which became an obsession for me, and it took over the drive to, in order to keep doing it from Colorado at that time, I'd have to interview with a VHS camcorder, and I'd have to send it. And if they wanted, an interview, then I'd have to fly out and do it. And there were some things because of Blank Check that were pick and choose and handed to me, but for the most part, I was still, I would have still had to interview, and at the time I was just kind of over it.
Yeah, kind of burned out. I imagine.
Basically where I'm getting.
Yeah. You spent, from the age of 3 to the age of 12, those are 9 very important formative years of your life, and you're spending that working nonstop. All the way, until you're probably 13, 14, whatever. You're supposed to work on all this stuff. That's the vast majority of your life you've done this, and at that point you're kind of like, I don't need to do this. I could just go be a normal kid for once. I imagine that's probably
absolutely
appealing.
Yeah, I mean, especially since you've been doing it for so long. It's like you brought so much happiness and so much entertainment to people at such a young age. It's like you gotta you gotta be able to take a break or change at some point, because it's that's a very solid way to get burnt out. That's
definitely what I wanted. And then I did an interview. I don't know, a couple years after that with like VH1 or E Entertainment, one of the two or something. And I kind of said in that interview, I don't know exactly what I said, but I think I said something of the sort that I didn't want to act anymore or something like that. And I don't think I worded that right. Like, I don't know that I didn't want to ever again. I was at, like everything I just said, I was just at a point in my life where I think I wanted a break, and I didn't really know, exactly what I wanted. But then, finding music and other journeys kind of, took over my thought process.
Have you been contacted for sort of like cameos? A lot of shows like to do things where they bring in old child stars as like little cameos, or even there was that movie that David Spade made about like former child stars, right? And he packed it with people that were on all these shows. Have you been contacted about that kind of stuff at all, like recently, or?
No, not recently. I've done a couple little independent things recently. Like I just did. And since there's a pandemic going on, I kind of just filmed them myself. but I did a little cameo in a movie called Alien Danger, which has other Star Trek cast members. I don't know exactly who they are. I don't know exactly what actors, because it was so recent and I don't really, there's not much about it yet.
Hasn't come out yet. Okay.
But there some of the band members from the band Guar are in it, and I think there's some random people, and so I've done a couple little things like that lately. But no, I can't say I've been contacted much for any
Well,
But
I mean, you're a super talented guy,
Yeah.
and
well, thank you. I really appreciate that a lot.
I listened to some of your music last night, and I was like, oh my god, like this guy.
What'd
can
you listen
fucking-
to?
I was on your YouTube channel actually,
Cool.
and it was I do you publish a lot of stuff on? Do you publish pretty often on there? Or are you gonna put more
I
stuff
did
up?
for a little while, but I haven't put much up on there.
We got to get more stuff up there, man. We got to get more.
Yeah, man.
songs.
Well, like most of my music I've made since high school is on Bandcamp, so you could just search my name on there.
Nice.
And then some of the, and some of those bands have their own pages on there too, but you can find it all compiled with just my name on Bandcamp, and some of it's on Spotify and all the streaming services, and
You can make a TikTok video with it, Stephen. If it's
go.
on the
I will.
TikTok.
Oh, I will. You better
on
watch
my
out.
I post updates here and there on my my Instagram, and it's under Mr. Brian Bonsall, but yeah, lately just been kind of doing little projects with other bands and helping out, and hopefully get to start practicing with my full bands again sooner than later, when we get a better word of when live music will continue.
Yeah, fingers crossed that we can all do that soon. So.
Yeah, you bet, man. Do you have social media? Do you have accounts people can follow you and stuff?
I do. You on Instagram, it's Mr. Brian Bonsall, and Facebook, it's official Brian Bonsall.
Nice, very nice.
And then I have a Twitter, but I don't really go. I don't really go on Twitter much or do anything on
Smart
there.
move. That's good.
Yeah.
There's nothing good
It's
on
a
there.
mess out there.
There's nothing
It
good on
really
there.
is.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. You're
Yeah.
missing nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Black, where can people find you on the social medias?
At Mike Black Attack on all of them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Nice.
And what about you, Mr. Walker?
I've got links to everything at funnymatt.com, or if you're upset by anything I said, you can let me know at mattwalkersucks.com. Also,
Yes.
I have some custom nerdy Star Trek shirts that we have available in the Nighttime Show merch store
Yeah, you
until
just-
I get a cease and desist. We're going to keep selling
You go
them.
to Threadless. It's the Nighttime Show .threadless.com.
Like I'm wearing the LA Trekkies shirt that I made, which is the part of the Klingon symbol and the Federation symbol to spell out LA. And we've got like my Enterprise Renaship.
I'm wearing one of the shirts right now. It's the Voltron. It's Voltron,
Yes.
but me and these two schmucks
Yes. So-
making
Nice.
up the Voltron.
So good merch you can get out there if you like
Yeah,
the
it's pretty
show
great.
and all that. So.
Yes, for the world, for the world. You can always get me at Flaming Knife on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can get me at Stephen Glickman, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Thank you so much for doing this, Brian.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I've been a big
had
fan
a
for a
great
long
time.
time, and it's so nice to meet you in person and get to chat. So
Yeah,
hopefully
it's
we'll.
super cool. I really appreciate you guys having me, and
Yeah. Hopefully
I
we
wish you
do
all
a
the
lot of
best.
conventions, comic conventions and stuff. So hopefully we'll see you
Oh,
around at one of
yeah.
those.
yeah, hopefully
when-
we cross paths. I definitely want to do a few when things continue. There was a couple I was going to do in LA that obviously
Yeah.
got canceled, postponed, and
by
hopefully
the way-
they hit me back.
Don't feel bad about not knowing any Klingon because we asked Michael Dorn. He only knows 2 words in Klingon, so don't worry about it. It's fine.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very
that
true.
makes me feel a little better.
You bet. You bet. All right, have a good one, man. Thanks again.
Hey, you
Thank you.
too. Thank you so much, guys.
You bet. We'll
right.
talk soon. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Oh,